Year 6, and welcome to today's maths lesson. So we're on Tuesday. Now yesterday we were looking at simplifying fractions and we did quite a lot of work on that. Today we are going to be looking at solving problems involving all four operations, so addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And then we're going to have a go at simplifying the answers we get. So we're going to go into my screen and I kind of talk through stuff basically with diagrams and things, and then how we can work it out without that. Okay? Let's get into it. This video is going to last about 13 minutes. Sorry. So if you need to pause it and have a little break, that's absolutely fine. In a bit. Okay, Year 6. So, as we said, we are looking at solving problems with fractions involving all four operations. So, that means we're adding fractions, subtracting fractions, timesing fractions, and dividing fractions. So there's hopefully nothing massively new today, but I just wanted to give us all a reminder about how to do it and why it works. So, if I look at this, I have got 3 6 and 2 6. So this is one whole, and I've only got 3 out of the 6 shaded on. This has got 2 wholes, and I've got 2 out of the 6 shaded in. And hopefully you'll agree with me that if I put those both together, so the 3 from the first one, plus the 2 from that second one, I end up with 5 6. Now this only works because both of these shapes are already split into sixths, okay? So the denominator is the same. If our denominator is the same, when we're adding or taking away, then we can just add or take away the numerators. The denominator stays the same, okay? Let's look at this example. So again, similar one. This fraction, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all together, and I've got 4 of them shaded. This fraction, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, and 2 of them shaded. So 4/5 take away 2/5. Well, it's like having 4 of these shaded in, the 4/5, but then I take away 2 of those fifths, so I'm left with 2/5. Okay? Straightforward when the denominators are the same. Now it gets a bit more complicated when the denominators are different. So hopefully you'll agree with me that this fraction, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's out of 6, and we've got 2 of them shaded. And we're adding that to, there's 2 parts, so we're adding it to a whole. So we're doing 2 6, add 1/2. Now, because these are split in different ways, we can't just add them together. What we need to do is make the denominators the same. Now, hopefully you can see with this diagram that actually this half can be split, this full fraction can be split into sixths, okay? And once I've split it into sixths, so it's the same as that, what I find is that 2 6 from that first one, I'm adding 1, 2, 3 sixths, okay? And now that I've got my denominators the same, I can tell you that my answer is 5 6, because I've got those 2 plus those 3, so there'd be that one shaded, that one shaded, that one shaded, that one shaded, and that one shaded, 5 6. Okay? Now, quickly looking at this one. Here we've got 1/2, add 1 3/4, and we've got them visually represented underneath. Now, when we've got mixed numbers like this, okay, so where we've got whole numbers and fractions together, we don't want to work with them, okay? We want to change them to improper fractions. So I'm going to split this whole into halves because we're talking about halves. I'm going to split this whole into quarters because on this one we're talking about quarters. So what you'll hopefully agree with me is that another way of writing 1/2 is to write 1, 2, 3 halves. Okay, if every one of those is a half, 1/2 there, 1/2 there, 1/2 there, we've got 3 halves. And in this one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters plus these 3 quarters, so we've got 7 quarters. Okay, so then I'm left with 3/2, add 7/4. Now, thinking back to what we were doing before, we can't add these together yet because our denominators are different. So we need to make our denominators the same. So I'm going to look for a numerator, a multiple, a common multiple of both of these. Now, can I make 2 into 4? And I can. So I'm going to make them both over 4. So this one is 7/4, so we're keeping that the same. Now I'm going to find an equivalent fraction to this that has a denominator of 4. And if we find an equivalent fraction, we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same thing. So I've multiplied the denominator by 2 to get to 4. So that means I multiply the numerator by 2, which gets me to 6. So 6/4 add 7/4 is going to equal 13/4. Now today, because yesterday we looked at simplifying, what I'd like you to do today is see if you can simplify that using what we practiced yesterday. So one way of simplifying it is to make it a mixed number. So how many quarters are in 13? Well, 4, 8, 12. So I've got 3 wholes, and then I've got 1/4 left over, okay? So today I'm looking for you to give your answers in the simplest form. Normally I would say don't change back, don't simplify, don't make them mixed numbers again. But for today we're just gonna have a little practice of that. Right, let's quickly do these together. So 4/5 take away 1/3. We've got different denominators. I wanna make the denominators the same. So I'm going to find a common multiple. Well, 3 can't go into 5, but it can go into 15, and so can that. So I'm going to put them both over 15. How have I got from that 5 to that 15? Well, I've multiplied it by 3, so I'll multiply the whole thing by 3 over 3. So 4 times 3 is going to be 12. How have I got from that 3 to that 15? Well, I've multiplied it by 5 over 5. So that 1 needs to be multiplied by 5. So I'm left with 12/15, take away 5/15. So my answer is 7/15. Can that be simplified? Can I find the number that I can divide both of those by? No. So it stays as 7/15. Right, this one. Firstly, I've got mixed numbers, so I need to convert them to improper fractions. So how many thirds are in 3 wholes? Well, it's 9 plus that one. So I've got 10 thirds. And I'm taking away how many 6 are in those 2 wholes? Well, it's 12 plus those 4, so that's 16/6. Then I need to make sure that these are the same denominator. Well, I can easily make 3 into a 6. I'm going to make them both something over 6. That one's staying the same. How have I gone from that 3 to that 6? Well, I've multiplied it by 2, so I need to multiply the numerator by 2. That's going to be 20. So 26 take away 16/6 is going to get me to 4/6. And then because today we're looking at simplifying, I can divide those both by 2 over 2. So that's going to equal 2/3. Okay, that's addition and subtraction. Right, let's quickly look at multiplication and division of fractions. Now here I've got a whole that goes across, a whole that's split into quarters, and a whole that's split into eighths. What this is representing is a quarter times by a half. We are finding a half of a quarter, and hopefully you'll agree with me that this is half of all of this one, okay? And what we find is a half of that is 1/8. Numerator times numerator is 1. Denominator times denominator is 8. So 1/4 times 1/2 is 8. Let's look at another one. Here we are doing a third, and we're finding 3/4 of it. We split it into 4, and we're finding 3 of them. Okay? And our answer is 3/12, because that is 3/4 of that third. Okay? And again, it works. Numerator times numerator gets us to 3. Denominator times denominator gets us to 12. Okay, this is why those multiplications work. Now, let's say that we're doing 3/5 times 2/4. What we're actually doing is finding a half of 3/5. But because it's not easy, we can't end up with like 1.5 fifths. Okay, so we're going to do numerator times numerator, which is 6. Denominator times denominator, which is 20. So our answer is 6/20. Okay. And then finally this one, we've got a mixed number. I don't want to be working with mixed numbers, so we're going to change it to improper. So how many halves are in 2 wholes? It's 2 times 2, 4, plus that one. So we have 5 halves times by 2/6. We're actually finding 2/6 of that 5 halves. And to do it, we can do numerator times numerator, which is 10, and denominator times denominator, which is 12. My answer is 10/12. quickly looking at division. So this one, which we looked at before, what we're doing here is like 3/4 divided by 4, which would give us 1/12. Now, the other way of writing divide by 4 is to write times by 1/4. And 1 times 1 is going to equal 1. 3 times 4 is going to equal 12, okay? Because dividing something by 4 is the same as multiplying it by 1/4. Let's just look at another one. 9/12. If I'm dividing that by 5, well, I'm going to make that a fraction. So make it 5/1. And then what I'm actually doing is splitting that 9 parts into 5 different parts. Now, that's not easy when that 9 divided by 5. So if we can't do that, we remember dodgy KFC. Keep, change, flip. So I keep my first fraction the same, 9/12. I change my division to a multiplication. And then I flip this fraction round so it ends up being 1/5. So then I've got 9 times 1 is 9. 12 times 5 is 60. So my answer is 9/60. And then I'm going to see, can I simplify that? Well, I can divide them all by 3. So that's going to end up with 3. That divided by 3 is going to be 20. 3/20 is my simplest answer. Okay, let's quickly do these and then I'm going to finish. So 3/4 divided by 4/5. So I'm going to keep, change, flip. 3/4, change this to a multiplication, flip this round to get 5/4. 3 times 5 is going to be 15. 4 times 4 is going to be 16. 15/16 can't be simplified anymore. Okay, and this one. Mixed numbers, I want to make them improper. So how many thirds go into a whole? Well, it's 3 plus those 2, so I've got 5 thirds. I'm just going to keep it the same for now. Divided by how many quarters go into a whole is 8. No, sorry, how many quarters into one whole is 4. So 2 wholes must be 8 plus those 2, so 10/4. Then I'm going to keep, change, flip. So 5 times 4 is 20. 3 times 10 is 30. And then today we're looking at simplifying. Well, I can divide those both by 10, can't I? I can divide it by 10/10. And I get the answer 2/3. Okay, so today, I'm going to start in a minute because I've been going on for a while. Things to think about. Always change the mixed numbers to improper fractions to solve the problems. Then if you do an addition or subtraction, you need to make the denominators the same. If you're multiplying, you multiply the numerator by the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. If you're doing division, you can keep the first fraction the same, change the division to a multiplication, and then flip the numerator to the denominator. And then if you can, I want you to simplify your answer. So year 6, work hard today. There's nothing there that we haven't really looked at before. Give it a good go, and I look forward to seeing you work in a bit. Goodbye.